All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I kind of just wanted to go on a little bit of a rant slash talk about where Jujutsu Kaisen is right now. I don't have any of this scripted. I've wanted to make videos for a really long time. I'm sorry if maybe audio's not great or video's not great, but we're just gonna go through this because I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a great manga. I don't share the same opinion that a lot of people share, saying that it's going downhill, or that GeGe is just rushing to the end. I couldn't disagree more. So I think I'm just going to kind of talk about it in this video. Currently, we're at chapter 225. So I'm making the video a little bit later than when all of the shit was going down. I know GeGe did an interview saying that he thinks the manga is going to finish this year, but I think everyone knows that mangaka are pretty shit at figuring out when their manga is going to end. And we have a lot of unresolved plot points in this manga, and obviously I know he can choose all he wants to, not wrap up certain points, but so far he's been fairly consistent and fairly good about, really seeing things through. I really don't see where people say that he's rushing through this. I get that we kind of, I would agree that we get some pacing issues a little bit in some of these chapters, leading up to Gojo Vs Sukuna. But I don't think there's any problem with that. I think that a lot of it is just going to be answered later. Like we saw Miwa walking around the colony, and now she's showing up in one of these rooms in this recent chapter. But, we don't know what she was doing. There's still time to explore what she was doing there. We have a lot of unanswered stuff. So I'm just going to kind of brain rattle here. I hope you enjoy it. Leave some comments down below. I love to talk about manga with people. Even if we don't agree, I'm always open to, conversation. I think that's one of the great things about these communities, though I usually stay arm's length from most fandoms. Jujutsu Kaisen has a very special place in my heart. I even have a Nanami tattoo on my arm. Let me know if you'd want me to make a video about the story behind that. But let's talk about the lead up to Sukuna versus Gojo. As I mentioned, we know that Miwa was in another colony. I can't remember where it was off the top of my head, honestly, because it was a single panel a while ago. But I don't think GeGe would just kind of throw that in there. I think clearly she was doing something. I think that payoff is just going to come later. Same thing kind of with Kashimo, because we know, obviously, that Hikari made a deal with Kashimo, and Kashimo wants to fight Sukuna, because his curse technique can only be used once, and he wants to use it on Sukuna. I think that can very easily come into play in the Gojo versus Sukuna fight. Again, a lot of this is just speculation. It's just me kind of, talking trash. Kind of just saying whatever. But Yorozu also gave Sukuna something. Where was that? Was that 219? Yeah. So here, she says, "Here, this is for you. Think of it as me and use it with care." So she gives him something. We don't know what that something is yet. Could this come into play with Gojo? More than likely. We know Sukuna has kind of been gearing up for a lot of things for a long amount of time. So it wouldn't surprise me if this would come into play in this fight. Also, people love to talk about, Nobara is missing. Nobara is missing. I think it's kind of like a dead meme at this point that GeGe's forgotten about her. Or that she is just completely dead and, you know, we're just waiting on confirmation that she actually is dead. Let's see, though. What chapter was it? Sorry, I'm completely unprepared. Nope, not this one. Last. I don't remember which one I even just clicked on. Thank you, Shonen Jump. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So everybody's holding one of my fingers, putting the death sentence on an indefinite hold. There's a few things actually on these pages that I want to talk about, but the finger missing is really interesting. I think it's definitely possible that Gojo could have the finger on him. It would be a very Gojo thing to do. Obviously, he doesn't want Itadori to die, same way he didn't want Akotsu to be executed. But I think an even more interesting thing is potentially giving the finger to Nobara. We obviously don't know if Yuji knows if Nobara is dead or alive. You know, we're just kind of operating under the sense that he probably doesn't know the status of her. He could by this point, now that Sukuna is out of his body. But this could have been like a long play, essentially. People trying to like not give Sukuna information, or obviously now that Gojo's out, maybe he had the finger, maybe now he gave it to Nobara, so at the fight she could use resonance because it would actually like attack his soul. And I think in theory that should leave Megumi okay, even though we know that, you know, if Sukuna dies, Megumi should be able to come back in the body. Exactly what happened with Itadori. I mean, Gojo even references that in one of these chapters. But also, Sukuna eats his old mummified self, presumably to make up for the power of the finger that he's missing. Or maybe it's another reason, not, you know, exactly sure. But, you know, could go either way. Because we know he's at 19 out of 20 now. Also, obviously Gojo's free now. I think it's this chapter. Oh my god, I'm like completely lost. 223, 222. Is it at the end of this one? Maybe it is at the end of this one. Sorry, I'm skipping all over. So yeah, this is something that a lot of people were complaining about. Itadori seemingly being able to body swap now. Like, yes, it's out of nowhere, obviously. But we know that Tsukumo left Soul Research, gave it to Chozo. Chozo gave it to Itadori. We're assuming this has something to do with this. Maybe it doesn't, but it probably does. We know that he probably ate the other Death Wound paintings before this. So this could be a new ability he unlocked through Tsukumo's research, based around the soul. But again, a lot of this is just set up. I don't see where people are saying like, oh my god, he's rushing to the end, he's rushing to the end. I just don't get it. Like, a lot of this is just setting up for further payoff. Like, I like this shit. You know? Like, I don't know. I just never had a problem with any of the pacing of this. We see that Ino has something to say about Nanami. I don't even know what I could speculate what Ino would have to say about Nanami. It could just be, you know, condolences or something to Gojo, because obviously they were friends for a very long time. Nanami and Gojo being the two people that were friends for a long time, not Ino and Gojo. They're setting up something there. Here, like, you know, he says Ijichi has a big job to do. We know that now as being a barrier, but we didn't know that at the time when people were like, oh my god, we're skipping so much stuff, like no one's telling us anything. And, you know, along the lines of the same thing with you know, there's one that isn't fully recovered yet, like Shoko saying that could be Geto, maybe, because Geto, you know, seems to kind of fight back against Kenjaku and Shibuya when Gojo calls out to him. And Kenjaku even says, like, oh, wow, that's never happened to me before. So maybe they're theorizing that they can get Geto back into his body, potentially, to maybe take control somehow. Or this could be Nobara. Or, like, it could be a few other people, honestly. But I think the two most likely are Geto or Nobara. Though I find it hard to believe that Nobara has not healed by this point. We see here that they're both, Inumaki and Yuta are both talking. And he says, thanks, that'll be useful. Obviously we can't understand what Inumaki is saying quite like Yuta can. But I think this is very interesting. They're clearly setting up something. And the area that they're walking through is really interesting to me. Because it's very, very reminiscent of where the higher-ups are kept. And where the higher-ups are kept, I think it's in 223 here. Yeah. So in 223, we see Gojo saying, like, you would have definitely told your superiors before about Panda, like how to create this, like what Yaga said. Saying you've changed. Things would be better with you running HQ. And we see that the higher-ups have finally been killed. And a lot of people think that this was Gojo. And I don't think that that's exactly, like, entirely ruled out. He's wanted to kill them for an extremely long amount of time. It would not surprise me if Gojo did kill them. But we know that this hallway leads to the higher-ups. So it wouldn't be entirely surprising to me if Yuta was actually the one to kill all of these people. And maybe Gojo was just kind of being like, you should really run it, not knowing that they're all already dead. Again, like, all just complete speculation. I could be totally wrong here. Maybe Gojo literally just killed them all. But it's cool to speculate. Especially because, I mean, again, it's hard to tell what the wounds are, but these could just as well be wounds from Gojo, as well as a sword, from Yuta. Let's see. I just have a few notes on a separate screen that I'm kind of reading off of, just like little bullet points. Oh yeah. Let's see. We see Higuruma here in the background, which I think is kind of not like odd, but surprising that he would be there. And we see him obviously here, trying to figure out, let's see, so yeah, he's essentially trying to figure out how, like, domain amplification works. And he says, like, oh, I have a sense, like, we know he has a high aptitude for curse manipulation, like curse techniques and, like, using curse energy. We know he has a high aptitude for that because he's already such a good sorcerer after having his ability for such a short amount of time. But I just thought it's kind of interesting that he ends up here. I know he said he was going to turn himself in when the culling games were done, but the culling games aren't done. It makes sense that he would be an ally, but it's just kind of cool to see him. I really liked him as a character, so just kind of noting that he's still here. Always love seeing him. Awesome to see him back. Going back a little bit, just kind of a little more setup in chapter 214, when Itadori is fighting Sukuna here. God, this panel is so raw. Jesus, it's so good. Sorry. Where is it? Yeah, right here. I get it. The boy is from that time. So, obviously we know, and then he says Kenjaku does the grossest things. We know that Kenjaku was Itadori's mother, or at least in Itadori's mother's, like, body. But, this makes me, and I think a lot of people think, that he's a reincarnated sorcerer, potentially. Um, you know, it's not like a groundbreaking theory or anything, but it's still just more setup that we've been getting. Um, you know, it's almost like maybe Kenjaku made him to house Sukuna in the future. You know, like there's a lot of things that this could mean, but it's just a little interesting, you know, aside. And finally, I think it's really, really interesting that Gojo chooses to dress exactly like Toji. Like 1-to-1 when he fought Megumi's father. You know, I think this is also going to come into play because Megumi, you know, Megumi doesn't know who his father is. But to me, Megumi is not stupid. Like when Toji is reincarnated in the Shibuya incident, you know, and he asks after Zenin dude, old man drunk Zenin, I can't remember his name right now. Naobito, I think is his name. You know, is like surprised to see Toji back. And Megumi's like, who the hell is that? And he's like, a ghost. Like, he's not stupid. They share very similar features. He's, you know, like, he's very clearly a Zenin. And then, on top of that, you know, Toji asks Megumi, oh, what's your name? Oh, like, Fushiguro? And he's like, oh, not Zenin, good for you. And then just kills himself. Like, I think Megumi has pieced together that could potentially be his father. This could just be Gojo, you know, trying to reach out to Megumi's soul inside of, like, Sukuna, essentially, at this point. Which I think I think will come into play, because it's very clearly a nod to Toji. Like, he's, again, it's 1-to-1. It's the shoes, everything. It's, you know, the drip is immaculate. That's Toji right there. You know, and I mean, they even reference him here. Like, you know, I could totally wail on Megumi because he looks just like Toji. Like, they're already referencing it, so I think this is going to come into play later. If anything, I think Gojo's going to, like, you know, I mean, Gojo essentially became a father figure to Megumi after killing Megumi's father at his request. You know, Toji didn't necessarily request, like, hey, look after my son. He's just not that kind of guy. But, you know, I think it's very telling that he, you know, is almost honoring Toji in this sense, who, like, was, I think, pretty clearly, like, his biggest challenge and his biggest rival ever in his life. You know, and taking his son under his wing and essentially being a surrogate father. So him, you know, donning the same outfit, going up against Megumi in this big fight. And this is all to save Megumi's soul, you know? Like, yes, it's to kill Sukuna, but it's also to bring Megumi back because he wants to save Megumi. Like, you know, Gojo's not an exceptionally emotional person. Like, sadness-wise, he doesn't outwardly express sadness that we see. But, you know, things very clearly affect him. And this is his son, essentially, like, his prize student has been taken over. So I think this outfit is going to come into play, too, during this fight. That's just kind of my overall thoughts on things that have been set up for this fight and things that could potentially come into play here. You know, we see in the newest chapter that their domains clash, and Gojo loses out on the domain clash because Malevolent Shrine doesn't have a bubble, essentially. It doesn't have an exterior barrier the way that most domains do. Thus, you know, right here, like they say, the domain's barrier breaks. And then his surefire attack goes through. I'm not super worried about this. Gojo's been cut in the neck before. We saw what happened the last time that happened, and what happened to the last guy. But I don't know, man. I just think the pacing has been great. I think the art has been fantastic. I mean, how can you look at this and just be like he's rushing through this. It's so clear he wants to finish. Like, dude, we have so much left in this amazing manga. So much left, and I can't wait to see where it goes. You know, like I'll be a dick rider for GeGe till the day I die. I love this manga. I love the anime. The anime comes back in, about a month. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I just love this series so much. I love manga and anime in general. And I feel like we as fans, I think we just need to enjoy things more. Just enjoy the ride. This shit's beautiful. Look at this. Like, we're at peak, man. And I don't subscribe to the whole mid thing, I think that word is so overused now for so many series. But I'm going to stop ranting now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Anyone that chooses to watch this. Let me know if you'd like any more videos. Like I said, I have a lot of scripts on my computer that I just can't seem to get myself to make. So I figured I'm just going to make a rant. I'm going to talk to the community. And hopefully some people listen. Some people tune in. Hopefully we can have a conversation. Because I love this series. I'm sure you love this series. And even if you don't, I hope you have a series that you are extremely passionate about. And you're kindly passionate about it. I think that's what I'm mainly about. Just, if you don't enjoy it, that's all right. But, we can let people enjoy things. Not everything is for everyone. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Leave some comments down below on what you thought. If you'd like to see anything in the future. What are your thoughts on the manga? Give me any manga or anime recommendations. I'm not super picky. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and see ya.